Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Today, I am joined by the beautiful Lydia of Mama Monster. Lydia, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I am doing very well. This is so fun to be able to finally meet up with you. We've been trying to get this done for a little bit now. And for those of you that don't know about Mama Monster, she is, first off, a veteran and stay-at-home mom of two. She's currently going to school for film and media studies and loves to create horror content on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, about everything you can. She collects everything horror, including masks, figures, Funko Pops, physical media, and T-shirts. So your Mama Monster has been going on for a while. We've been able to connect through a couple of the YouTube friends that we do have and a couple of the groups that we have. We've become pretty close. What's it like? How did Mama Monster get started for you?
Actually, it's kind of funny because I've always watched YouTubers, like horror YouTubers, and I myself am kind of shy and I don't like to talk in front of people and stuff like that. And I had an idea oh, let me start a YouTube. And I was like, no, I couldn't do it. And this one day I was thinking that, and I just told myself I couldn't do it. And that same day, it was just kind of weird. My husband came home and was like, you know what? I was thinking you should start a YouTube for your horror. And I was like, whoa, I literally was just thinking that. So he kind of pushed me, gave me that push to do it. And that's kind of where it started.
And that's awesome. And you do have guests on your channel every now and then. We've got to watch you and your little buddy talk about Sharknado and Jaws. So it's cool you're getting at a young age. What was it like to try to steer him towards horror?
Well, kind of just, they knew because I would always be watching it. And when they were younger, I'd be like, oh, you can't watch it just yet. And then they would just, both of them were interested. So it kind of started off maybe when he was 6 and she was about 8. And well, before that, I let them watch Little Monsters and Garbage Pail Kids, little stuff like that, Goosebumps. But I started them off with Cujo, and yeah, scared my daughter a lot.
Well, now I know what I'll be talking to them about eventually.
Yeah.
That's a good place to start too. Now, another thing I wanted to talk to you about, you love to travel. 19 countries so far. Yeah. I think I've been in 19 counties in my life. So what's it like going from country to country? What are the big, what's the big obstacles you have to overcome going from country to country?
Obviously the language, but most places I've been to do speak English, but of course you want to try to learn a little bit to communicate. I've just always loved to travel, but since we're a military family, my husband's still in the military, so that's why we are here in Germany, and we were in Turkey before Germany, and that's kind of when I really started to travel, because being in Germany, it's so easy to travel, and it's cheap, so it's been a beautiful experience.
That's awesome. And I do want to say thank you to your husband as well. I said thank you to you earlier. We appreciate it. I know that we love horror, and horror is a good thing, and it's something that's inspirational to all of us. But when your husband's out there on the field, that's a real life horror story. And, when you were out there, it was a real life horror story for your family too. So every day that he's out there, not only is he out there, but you and your kids are out there with him. So my heart and soul goes out to all of you guys for a safe return for him every night, because without them, we wouldn't have the freedoms we have. Whether you believe in the government or not has nothing to do with how amazing our veterans are. So thank you guys for putting your lives on the line. We really do appreciate that. But I want to say this now. All the links, I talked earlier about the YouTube, the TikTok. I sound like such an old man. I talked about the YouTube. I told you about her YouTube, her TikTok, everything. All those links are down here in the description, guys. So make sure you're giving her a follow. Make sure you're subscribing on the YouTube channel. Her horror collections alone are worth the watch. I promise you, you're going to enjoy it very much. So, Lydia, we know what you got going on now with the YouTube channel and everything, but I kind of want to take it back to the past here for a little bit. Talk about the first horror movie that you watched. And boy, is this a doozy. It gave me nightmares for a long time. And Lydia, your first horror movie was?
Phantasm from 1979.
A movie that, I'm telling you, the tall man haunted me for years. So do you remember about how old you were the first time you had seen Phantasm?
It's kind of funny because I was around 5 or 6, and for the longest time, my memory was kind of foggy. I didn't know if I saw Phantasm or Night of the Living Dead from 1990 first, but then when I thought of the timeline and my age, and I was like, oh no, it's definitely Phantasm, and I remember the house we were at and everything like that. So yeah,
it's amazing how I don't remember the first comedy I watched. I don't remember the first action movie I watched, but I definitely remember that first horror movie. And I think it's amazing. We watch it again, and like I said, sometimes if I watch Jason Goes to Hell, I remember hanging out with my cousins Josh, Nick, and Al, and eating hot pockets, and I could smell the hot pockets, and I could feel the environment around us just from watching a film. And it's amazing how these things happen because these movies mean so much to us. And do you remember who you were with the first time you had seen Phantasm?
Oh, definitely my dad. He's the one who got me into horror. Our whole family, my sisters too. Like he had us all watching at a young age.
Well, and the great thing about Phantasm is, as horror fans, Phantasm is like, yeah, Phantasm, that's awesome. But really, when you go into the mainstream, Phantasm is really off the beaten path. It's not that big of a horror movie that a lot of people talk about very often. And I think that's really a bummer because Phantasm is not only a great movie, but it's a very, very scary movie with a lot of very effective scenes. And which scene, Lydia, would you say it was that affected you the most from Phantasm?
Definitely when Mike was sleeping and he woke up and he was in the graveyard and the tall man was standing behind him. And then you see those arms come from the grave and just pull him under. Like, I think that's pretty traumatizing for a kid.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That and the tall man himself, just the way that he looks, the way he walks, like it's such a Angus Grimm is such an amazing character actor. And I think that's why we could never get another Phantasm because I can't picture anybody else playing that role as well as he did. Now we talk about effective scenery and which scene it was that affected you the most from Phantasm. But what would you say your favorite scene from Phantasm would be?
It's not even like a scary scene or anything like that. But do you remember when he was Mike was going down the stairs and I don't even know what he was fighting, like this little monster thing, and he was just like going down the stairs like fighting against them. I think it's hilarious, and yeah.
Well, and a lot of things like that, we have to find levity in it, especially as a kid. We have to try to find the little comedic parts of it, or else we're gonna lose our freaking minds at how scary this is that we're watching. So we know which your favorite scene was, and we know which scene affected you the most from Phantasm. And the great thing about Phantasm is it has spawned a couple different sequels. Maybe not as great as the first, but have you seen the whole franchise? And which film is your favorite in the franchise?
I have not seen the whole franchise. I'm not even sure which ones I have seen. I don't own them, which I think it's crazy. So, but they're really expensive because I looked to see if I can get them, and I'm gonna have to wait and do some searching. But so I'm just gonna have to go with the first one because I don't remember the rest of them.
And that's a completely fair assessment. That's what I want is, I love how genuine it is. It's not like, oh yeah, I've seen them all, but the first one's my favorite. I love the fact that, and you're really not missing much. Two, I love two. I think two is great, but number one will always be my favorite. So with Phantasm, the kills in this movie, not 1,000 of them, but there are some very good kills in this movie. Which kill would you say affected you the most? Which one stuck with you the most?
Oh, definitely the spear in the face when you think it's coming from Mike and he bites the guy and it goes like straight into his forehead and the drill goes through and then the blood's like squirting out the spear and just all that. And honestly, like coming back watching it now, I thought there was more spear action. I was like, we need some more of that. Like
that spear terrified me. And I've told this story before. My grandpa made me my own little Phantasm sphere when I was a kid because I wanted one so bad. Yeah, I wish I still had it because I loved the movie. I loved that sphere. That thing haunted my nightmares as a kid. But now we talked about Phantasm being your first horror movie and how much that affected you. And usually I get a cameo from my little buddy Ghostface here, but he's on set right now filming Scream 6, so he couldn't be here with us today. So I'll just have to ask you, what is your favorite scary movie? What's your favorite horror movie, Lydia?
1989, of course. Not talking about the remake.
Right.
Pet Cemetery.
What an amazing! And you know what? Pet Cemetery is that film that it'll always hold a special place for me. Not just because I watched it as a kid and I'm a big Stephen King fan, but it was my wife's first horror movie. That was Ashley's first horror film that she ever watched. So that movie holds a very special place to both of us. And Victor, I think, is one of the most underrated characters of any horror movie ever. I think that Victor is just a terrifying, vision in that film. Even though he's really like an angel, like he's trying to stop them. Like, don't go into the cemetery. Don't do it. Like he's kind of that voice of reason. But you know, the scene that, and it got me, it still gets me when he's standing there and he's like, Lewis, don't. And Lewis is like, it's all right. She just died. It'll be different this time.
I
And he's just
know.
screaming and he turns into nothing. Like
It's
that got
scary,
me
but it's like
so.
beautiful too at the same time. Like, I met him in 2015 actually in London, so that was pretty cool.
He's an awesome guy. He is an
Yep.
amazing, amazing person. He was telling us about how Brad Greenquist was telling us about how they actually filmed a scene that they didn't include where it had Victor flying above everything, like
Oh,
trying to
really?
find Lewis. And I was like, oh, dude, I wish I could see that so
Yeah.
bad. Like, it would be so dope to watch that play out. So,
Oh man.
well, I've had an amazing time talking to you about Phantasm, talking to you about Pet Cemetery, talking to you about your life and the things that have happened in your life and how amazing you and your family are. And you guys are real life heroes. So thank you for that.
Oh, I appreciate that.
No, before I let you go, I do want to bounce back real quick to Phantasm. And what we're going to do is we're going to rank this on a skull count. Now, we're not ranking it on acting, score, direction, none of the above. What we're doing here, Lydia, is strictly ranking this movie on how much it affected you on first viewing. So 0 skulls being not effective, 5 being extremely effective. You can use half and quarter skulls anywhere in the middle. What would your ranking of Phantasm be?
Before I say my ranking, I would like to say that score be hitting. That I love the score of the Phantasm. I was
It
like,
is. And I think that that's one of those things that when you have a lot of these underrated 80s, 70s, 80s horror films, the scores are always so great. Like
yeah,
horror in general. I mean, like there's movies that the 3 that always come to my mind right away, Psycho, Jaws, Halloween. People that have
yep,
never seen those films know the scores. They
yep,
know the
yep,
music to those movies, even though they've never seen them. That's how influential
exactly.
and how powerful the scores can be when it comes to a film. So I'm with you. I mean, I own the Creep Show vinyl. I own the
Oh,
Evil Dead
love it.
2 vinyl. Like I love scores in films. They can really make or break a film.
Yes, I agree. I think I would have to go with the 3.
Right smack in the middle.
Yep, yep.
And that's a fair ranking. And if you guys haven't seen Phantasm, I can't recommend it enough. And if memory serves correctly, it is on Shudder right now. And if you're watching this, you need to own Shudder. It's the best streaming service
Oh
there
yeah.
possibly is. Like that, we spend so many a night just thumbing through Shudder. So before I
Agree,
let you
me
go, Lydia,
too.
I do want to remind everybody all of her social media links and YouTube links are down here in the description. So make sure you're clicking those. Make sure you're subscribing and following her on social media so you can stay up to date on everything that she has coming up here in the future. Lydia, please don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, as always, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.